Hello there, and this is another box series video. I have used my upload button over here to import a box template that I found off of the internet. And you can see that this one, I actually saved this one as a print and cut image, and you can see that over here because I wanted to see the score lines where they are, and then I also wanted you to see how jagged this little edge is. Do you see that that is not smooth at all? And if I just turn this into a cut image, which you can, I would have a lot of those imperfections, if you will, when I tried to cut out the box. So what I have discovered, I'm just going to turn the print back on. Oh, where did it go? There it is. Original artwork. Okay, restore. There we go. And the measurements really are fairly simple on this box. You can really see where the score lines are. You know, everything's going to be like straight, so nothing's too complicated. I just wanted you to see what I did. So because that line is so jagged, I actually sent that file to me in an email. And what I did, and do you see this file is nice and smooth? It just picked that black to import it automatically. I prefer to always design in a lighter color just so I can always see my work. But do you see how this image that I have has much smoother lines? Well, a trick is to import this into Cricut Design Space, but use your iPad. I don't have the option to take video like of my screen on my iPad, but when you import an image, it gives you an option to smooth it. And I use the smoothing option, and you can see how I've got nice lines on this image. So this is what I'm actually going to be cutting from, but I have this other image open just so I can see, you know, where the score lines are if I want to make any changes to my design. And I wanted you to see how that one, you know, imports kind of all you know, wrangly and not real smooth around the edges, and what I do to get around that. So I'm going to hide that one for right now, and we need to split this template in half, and we also need to make this little handle right here and the little slits. That's actually why I left that open, now that I remember. So I'm going to try to make these templates both the same size. So this is, let's just make it a nice even number. Let's just call this 15 for the sake of design. Okay, and let's make this one 15 for the sake of design, and hopefully they should be the same. There we go, 15. I usually click over there. There they go. Okay, they look pretty darn good now. We are going to send that one to the front. Okay, so I need to make those little slits. Do you see them? So I have my template sitting on top of the image that I'm actually going to use to cut. So I guess you could say I'm using it as a stencil. So all I'm doing is I grabbed a little shape, and mine happens to be the square that I made smaller, and I'm using that, like I said, basically as a stencil to figure out where my slit needs to be in my design. And I'm going to duplicate that one because I need 2 slits. I'm going to line them up right there. And as always, I'm going to remind you that I always do a test cut. Okay, nothing I don't do without a test cut. So I'm grabbing my base layer. I'm grabbing one of my little slits and I'm going to slice it. So that went there, and now I should have a little hole. I do, look at that, it's white. Okay, so this one I don't need. This one I'm going to put back on top. You always have to send it to the front. So now I've grabbed my little tab again. I'm going to grab my base layer. I'm going to slice it. And I'm just going to delete my little slices. There you go. Now I've got a slice. I've got those little tabs. I'm going to turn this one back on. I'm going to move it to the top, send to front. There we go. I need my other little handle. I'm going to grab my shape tool. I'm going to use a circle. If I don't get this perfect, I'm not going to worry about it too much. Here, let me even show you how that's going to work. I can put the circle right over that shape and get the handle even better. Let me just click slice. There it is. Okay, do you see how I have that there? Now I need to put this one back on top, send to front because I need to line it up. Okay, so I'm going to grab my base, send to front, and I'm just going to move it over. There we go. I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger because it looked a little small. I'm going to get rid of this piece because I know I don't need it. I'm going to get rid of that piece because I know I don't need it. And I'm going to turn that layer off. Oops, that one needs to stay on. That one needs to go off. Uh-oh. That happened. All right, let's go back. I didn't want that to happen. So we can fix that. That's not a problem. We're just going to go back, back. One more to where I just had the 0. Let's see how much it will let me go back. There we go. Okay, so this layer we're going to hide. All right, this layer. Ooh, actually, you know what? Let's hide that layer and let's slice it out of here. There we go. Let's do this one and this one, and let's slice it because I really don't care if I mess up that base layer, right? We don't really care. Let's turn back on our other base one. Where do I have a white? Ah, see? We don't care that that happened. So I'm going to turn on my other base just to line it up. There it is. I'm going to grab my little black part. I'm going to move that to the front. There we go. Going to make it just a little wider. And put it right there. Now we actually want to cut this out. So I'm going to hide this again. I'm going to delete this. There we go. So we have this and this, and we're going to slice. And now I have my little handle in there. Okay. There we go. Now, my score lines are going to be fairly easy to put in here because everything's pretty much the same. And before I go to the score lines, I need to go back to cutting this in half. So we're going to grab a big giant square. We're going to line up the square right there in, I'm looking at this little V. You can zoom in if you need to, line up your little V, drag it over. I'm going to turn off the aspect ratio so I can get it a little more perfect. And I'm just going to nudge that over. We want to keep that line as straight as possible, and I'm pretty happy with that. So we take that square, we choose that layer, and then we slice it. Okay. Now I should have this layer. Yes, I do. I should have this extra layer. I'm just going to hide it. We should have our extra piece there that we can just throw away, and then here's this one. And then the only thing I need to do is make a tab to glue it together. And you can either make your tab match this one exactly, or because it really won't show, it doesn't matter if it matches exactly. Nobody's going to see it. It's going to be on the inside. So I'm just going to get this tab to be fairly close. Just like that. That looks to be about the right size. And then bring it over and make sure that I slightly overlap it to that side. And now I'm going to weld it. And I have a tab. And I really don't care if it doesn't have rounded edges because it's going to be on the inside. I think I'm going to take just a smidgen of time and clean out that corner there. I'm just going to take a square and you'll see what I'm looking at in just a second. There's kind of like a jagged corner. Just going to lay this square in there right like that. Go like this, slice it. Yep. And I can tell that I cut that little tiny corner out, and I'm just going to delete it. Okay. There. That looks a whole lot better. I have a little tiny smidgen of one over on that side. And so I'm going to take this one, kind of do the same thing. I think I'm going to rotate it. Yeah, so I am kind of matching that angle. And I'm just going to glide it up there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select that layer. I'm going to select that shape and I'm going to slice it. Yep, it worked. Okay. So I don't need those pieces anymore. And I'm pretty happy with my box. And now I can lay in my score lines. Let's slide this score line over. It was already there. And if you're not sure where to put your score lines, you're going to go back to your template and just refer to it. As I mentioned before, these are all going to be really easy. See, it goes straight there and it goes straight across. So if you need to keep that on there for reference, you absolutely can. I'm going to send this to the front just so I can see it. Line those score lines up. Just make it a little shorter. There we go. And I'm going to duplicate that one because I know it's already the right height and everything. So that one's going to go right there. I'm going to duplicate it again. Bring it over. Now this template needs to get slid over. There we go. Now I can see it. Bring my score line over. Line it up as best you can. There we go. Duplicate it again. Okay, now I just need to do the ones that go all the way across. You can pull out another score line if you want. You could continue to duplicate it. It doesn't really matter. I need to rotate this one 90 degrees. Okay. And I'm going to lay this in the corner, and this one I'm just going to bring all the way over. Did you see how I did that one? Because that one's going to just go all the way over. I'm going to duplicate it. It goes right here at the bottom. Okay. And when I'm going to duplicate it again, and when I get ready to do my test cut in just a second, this template is almost done. I'm going to resize it. When I do my test cut with, you know, not your pretty paper, that's always my tip. You want to, you know, kind of use your junk paper. You're going to check to make sure that those lines are perfect. Now, there was a score line that goes right here. I will double check that in my template. You can move it to the front so you can see it. But I have a feeling when I go to actually make this box, that score line's going to just fit in there naturally. So for right now, I'm not going to put that in. I'm going to re-hide this layer. Okay. If we don't attach our score lines, I will show you what happens. Your score lines just show up because the computer has no idea what to do with them. It says, well, you asked me to put score lines down, but you didn't really tell me where you wanted them to go. Even though you have them in place here, you still need to actually attach it. And I just accidentally moved that, so I'm going to reline it up. And you'll see what I was trying to do. Okay, so I need to select this whole section, and I did that by just dropping and dragging my mouse while I'm holding. It's actually, for me, it's my left mouse button. I use it with my index finger, and I actually use a trackball instead of an actual mouse, because I would be, you know, sliding it. I don't know whether or not you can hear that, but I would be sliding my mouse all over my table instead of just using my trackball. So we've got that attached. I just used the little attached icon down there. Now we're going to go to the next one and attach it. Okay, so we have our base template in half, and now I want to really resize it. I would like to cut these out of 12 by 12 paper. So I know that Cricut Design Space will do at least 11 inches by 11 inches. So that's where I got that number. And I'm going to do this one by 11. And they should come out to pretty darn rootin' tootin' the exact same size. If they don't, you see how I can tell that one's a little off? I'm going to adjust the template. Look at this. I'm just laying it over it. I'm just going to adjust it right here so they're all the same size. I need to come up a little bit because these two should pretty much be a mirror image of each other. All right, I'm going to lock that just because I don't want to screw it up. And I'm going to do one more thing to kind of double check it. I am going to make a square, and this square that fits in this box should be almost identical to the other square. There we go. I was looking at the top. It says 6.2. This one is slightly bigger. Okay. So do you see how I'm just making these tiny little adjustments and where I'm getting my math numbers? Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to take this box out. I'm just going to hide it because I might use it in the next step. I'm going to save this. This is imported box, I-M-P-O-R-T-E-D. I'm just calling it imported box because it's not one I designed from scratch. I just imported box try. There we go. I'm just saving it. You can choose to save things however you want. If it's a box, I always call it a box. Okay, so each one of those halves, there we go, should fit on its own sheet of 12 by 12 paper. All right, I'm gonna send this to the Cricut to do the cutting right now.
All right, I have my base template, and the paper is curled mainly because I cut this out of actual paperweight paper. You see how like that just kind of flops over. As I mentioned, I do a test cut on everything, and so I don't use my really nice papers until I've made sure that my template is going to work. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that all of my score lines are there. So I'm just going to rescore some of these, make sure that my folds are there. They look pretty good. So this glue tab is going to get glued down right here. You want to line it up, pull it over, give it a nice good rub, and you can see this is a really good size template. If I was cutting this out of a die cut, usually die cuts are designed to cut out of 8.5 by 11-ish size of paper because it's kind of a standard one. This is one I still haven't opened yet, but I'm pretty sure that if I looked at this, and we'll do that in another video, this would probably fit really close to an 8.5 by 11, whereas this I'm cutting out of a 12 by 12. And because I designed this in Cricut Design Space, if I wanted this smaller, it could absolutely be made smaller. I would just, you know, grab the bars kind of like I enlarged it and just shrink it down. Okay, we're going to bring this tab over. You can see I just put glue there. Bring this right to the corner. And remember, I had to do like a little zhuzhing. I wasn't sure if I was getting my template exactly straight. Well, these are things that I'm looking for. So when I go back for the second half of the video, I might just move my template over just a little bit, giving that just a second there to dry. And then make sure everything is folded. And we are designing in 2 dimensions, or on a flat piece of paper or on a flat computer screen. And then when we're actually folding our projects and working with them, that's 3-dimensional. So sometimes it is hard to visualize what you're doing when you're in Cricut Design Space. And that's why I've always found it so beneficial to make just a basic template to see how everything's going to go together. Now again, this is made out of paper and not cardstock, so this base definitely is not very sturdy. If I was going to, you know, put something heavy in this box, I always recommend making this big rectangle, doing 2 of them. You're going to glue one to the outside and then one to the bottom, and that's going to give you, you know, a much more sturdier box. Okay, so this is going to fold in. This is going to fold in. It looks like our slits are pretty good. Wow, I'm really happy with that box. I don't think there's a lot of design elements we're really going to need to change. I didn't crease that too much. But I'm really happy with that, and that's a really nice size. Let's see, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5, almost 7 inches wide there. So that's a nice box. And you can see some of these other templates that I've designed in Cricut Design Space. I just have these sitting around, so if I want a box, I can kind of see what I have. And if I've got any design notes, I write them here on the box. Now this one I did specifically design for 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, and I need 2 of them. And I wrote on there that I need to cut 2. Same with this one. I wrote down what I titled it in my Cricut Design Space, that I stretched it, and I can actually cut this whole box out of 1 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, okay? Again, this treat box, I've got down in my notes to cut 2. This one I need 2 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. So as you get better at making boxes, you're going to have a collection of these if you choose. It's just my recommendation. So you can actually look at the box and decide, you know, hey, I'm going to put something heavy in there. I really need to remember to make a bottom. So the next part of the video, we're actually going to make this out of our really, really nice paper. I am going to make the bottoms, and I think the paper I'm going to choose for this project is this really pretty, like, daisy spring paper.
There was one side of the box that was a smidgen too big. And in looking at my 3D template that I'm holding in my hand, I can tell it's the part of the box that's on this side. And it was just like a little bit too wide, barely anything. So I'm just going to slide my template over like just a smidgen. It might not even be something, you know, you felt like you had to adjust. It's just something I'm choosing to adjust. And I want to make my bottom because I really think it needs a nice firm bottom. So how do we figure out that size? So you're going to take this measurement, whatever this is, from here to here, and then plus this, because this is going to be the side of your box here, and this is going to be the top. Just a little trick, a lot of times it's the same dimensions as this inner square. At least that has been my experience. So I just took that there. See, that measurement is the same. Now if I rotate this, you could either use your numbers up at the top. Oh, I was really close to 90 degrees. I'll just type that in so it's perfect. There we go. Look at that. It is so close. It's just a little bit wider. So I'm just going to bring that in, and that should be my bottom to my box. So I'm going to do 2 of those. And now I know I have a bottom for my box. All right, so I'm going to be cutting out of that really, really pretty paper. And I can choose to make little panels here out of that pretty paper, or cut it out of plain cardstock and then add the decorative elements. So I'm going to figure that. I want to make these little slits on the side just a little bit narrower. So what I've done is I've selected my box again. Now I have those score lines attached, so I have to detach them. And then I need to select the little, there it is, there's the little square, it's over there. The little square and the base box, and I need to weld them. I'm not going to worry about the color right now. I need this little one, and I made 2 separate ones because I wanted to take off the measurement, you know, a little bit from each side. So I'm going to take that one, this one, weld it. Now all I have to do is go back and change the color again so it matches. I can actually take this layer here and drag it. Let's see, come on, don't make a layer out of me. There we go. So that's another way to put it, you know, down below it or move it to the back. And now I just got to select all those and attach it, okay? So before I attach it, I'm going to do one other thing. I am going to make some matching panels for decorative purposes for this box. I was thinking about what I wanted to do, and I decided that making the decorative panels, I'll just cut it out of like cardstock or like a background color, paper, and then I have the templates to put an accent piece on top of it, and you'll kind of see how that all comes together. So I'm just gonna slice this, all right, because I'm gonna do something with this black piece in just a second. I don't need this outer one. Now this piece, I do want to reattach it here. I don't want it to, you know, be separate. And sometimes that happens. You'll like get that little bit that doesn't attach. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back in my history. See that they're two separate layers. And I'm going to unlock it, and I'm just going to drag this over it. Just so it gives it more of a kiss or a hug. There you go. And now it welded it without having that seam in there. So that's pretty much all I did. All right. I want to also make this flap an accent piece. So I'm going to take the shape again, grab a square, kind of position it right there in the corner, turn off that. Click it. Whew! Edit out that sneeze. All right, now that I have both of them selected, we've got the square over it. We're going to do the same thing. It's kind of like a cookie cutter. We're going to use the slice. There it is. That's the part I need. All right, we don't need this outer black part. And then this little peak, I don't know what we want to call it. There you go. I just made it a smidgen bigger, brought it over this one, and we're going to weld it back together. Okay, so now we need to reattach our score lines to it. There we go. So we're going to grab all of those score lines and the base, and we're going to attach it. All right. Boom. Hard but easy. I mean, you're just thinking about the pieces. I'm just moving these to the side just so I have a larger work area for you to see what I'm going to do with these. All right. I don't need these tabs here on the side to make my box because they're just kind of extra. Don't really need them. So we're just going to do the same process again. We're going to use this square kind of as an eraser. We're going to do our best to get that line, you know, fairly straight, and you'll see kind of what I'm going for here in just a second. We're going to select those two, and we're going to slice it again. It's all pretty much just the same steps. Now I know I don't need it, so I'm just, now it made two copies because it has the slice, it has this piece right here that looks like an ear, and it has the piece that it came off. That's why there's two of them. All right, I'm going to do this to the other side. Click this. Just kind of make my angle as close as I can. Drag it over, click them both together, slice it again. Now I have something that looks like a puzzle piece. Get rid of the little ear. All right, one last thing. I need to make this a little bit bigger because when I overlay this, now watch, I'm going to kind of do it a little bit. Watch what happens. When I overlay this to make my patterned piece, it's going to make that handle smaller. So I need to cut this circle out a little bit bigger. Let me resize this a little closer to the original just as we're working. There we go. It's close enough. All right. What I did is I thought about it for a minute and I went into some of my personal images and I found this image. It's kind of like a stamp frame. And I'm just going to position this around this layer. Do you see that? That layer and this layer, and now I'm going to slice it. And I should get a much more purposeful, I'll just leave those two out there, a much more purposeful edge. Oh, didn't quite get rid of all of it. Interesting. All right, so now I just need to go in there and clean up those little strange bits. Let's see. I don't really want to use that. I do really wish they would make an eraser tool for this program. So Cricut, if you're listening, some kind of an eraser tool right now would really come in handy. Okay, I'm just going to change the color of this box again so you can kind of see a little bit better what I'm doing. And I'm just making a box now, filling in the other box, selecting it and slicing it yet again, and hopefully that will take care of all of that wonkiness. Yep, there it is. All right, that's garbage. That's garbage, 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 garbage. I'm gonna hide. I'm just gonna hide it. Okay. Whoops, wrong one. We needed to hide that one. Okay, so in my mats and layers, now I have this layer that I am pretty happy with. I do want this still just a little bit smaller so we have the border around it. Okay, I like that. Now we need to work on this one, okay? I have this piece out and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees or close to 90 degrees. I do like to use these numbers up here at the top. And just see how that went straight to 90. And I'm going to make this smaller and I'm going to take that off. And remember, like the other one, all we're doing is creating a decorative element and we don't really want this little slit to get in the way. So I'm going to select both of them. I'm actually going to use my Align and we're going to put that right in the center. There it goes. Okay, so I'm going to take this little piece. This one's actually should work a lot easier than the other one did. Okay, so now I have all of these pieces. I'm going to drag this over from my decorative element. Slide it over a little bit more. Oh, see, that one's going to work a lot better. And now I can make this smaller and still have plenty of room for our slot there. There we go. Okay. Getting happy with this. I'm going to make this a little smaller so you guys can see it. This can just get hidden for right now. It doesn't really matter. These pieces are my bottom. Remember we talked about making a nice firm bottom. I know that sounds funny. Okay, we're going to change the color of this just so you can tell that's a decorative element, and you can change it to whatever color you like, whatever color you want in your happy little world. I'm going to take this hidden one over here, turn it back on, and move it to the top, send a front, and it wasn't happy with that one, so we'll do it over there. Good. Now, same thing, we're going to make it a little smaller. Sometimes you have to turn off that lock part to make it look perfect, and because this is going to be a decorative element and not the base, I'm actually going to do this two different colors because I just think it's going to look cute, and you will understand when you see the whole thing. All right, where did my little tops go? There it is. Okay, so this top, this little yellow top here that's hiding, I'm going to change this to blue because I want that to cut out of the same color of paper. And then this top and this part over here, I want to cut out of the same color paper. So I'm just going to select this blue one. I'm going to duplicate it just because I know it should be about the right size. Change the size. So this is our side piece now, remember? And I'm going to change it to yellow. Okay? So now we've got two colors of pattern paper that we're going to be cutting out. We have the base in another color. We want to cut the black out of, you know, a nice firm cardstock. And I think I'm going to turn back on this layer because we can use this for some tag elements. And actually that one's kind of wonky. So let me go back to my images. This is where I found it. It happens, I just typed in, I think, fancy edge or something. And then I looked at what I had and I found it. There it is. It's something I had uploaded. So give that a second to come in. Yeah, that would make a nice little tag or a nice little label. Do you see that? So I need a base for that. Let's see. Get my good old squares and rectangles out because we want this to be solid, and then we can make, you know, another layering piece on top of it. So it gets very decorative. All right, we're going to join those two together. We're going to weld them. And we're just going to choose the blue. And now we're going to duplicate this one again, except I'm going to make this yellow, and you'll see where I'm going with this. And now I'm going to make one smaller. There. So now I have a cute little layered element. If you wanted to make this a tag, you could always, you know, put a little hole in there, or you could use a hole punch. Or whatever you want. So when I go into my, I'm going to save this really quick, save. So when I go into my Make It screen, it looks like it's almost done there. We're waiting on it to save. I must not be on the internet very well. There we go. I should have several different mats, okay? So I have my base box, and this time I'm going to cut it out of pretty colored cardstock. What is this? Okay, this tells me I have some wonky things on my canvas that I forgot to erase. That's why we're checking it before we're actually doing it, and I'm just going to delete those. I can't imagine that we're going to need them. Make it... So we're just double checking everything. These are our base bottoms, and this doesn't matter what, you know, what we really cut it out of, but I'm probably going to choose a higher quality cardstock. Here's my decorative elements, and that's going to be cut out of two colors of paper. So we shall be right back.